Hello, wine lovers! I am Raslava, sommelier and wine educator, your guide on this journey through a world of wines, spirits, and cocktails. A few days ago, on the 31st day of November, this year's Beaujolais Nouveau is released to the market. This is the first wine of the current harvest. All others still require significant time to mature before they are ready for consumption. In France, England, Japan, and many other countries, the arrival of Beaujolais Nouveau is a festive occasion marked by events and gatherings dedicated to this young wine. Beaujolais Nouveau is an expensive, straightforward wine. It has little common with the great complex wines of the world, yet its name is widely recognized, even by those who are not the wine enthusiasts. So, what makes Beaujolais Nouveau so special? There are three key points. First, it is the youngest wine made to be enjoyed immediately after production. Second, its production process differs significantly from traditional winemaking techniques. Third, it rises to global fame its fascinating story of marketing and popularization, transforming the obscure local wine into internationally celebrated phenomenon. Let's take it step by step. Beaujolais is a small wine region in eastern France, situated between Burgundy and the Rhone Valley. While it is often considered as a part of Burgundy, this classification does not feel entirely accurate. Beaujolais differs from Burgundy not only in the primary grape variety used, but also in its approach to winemaking. The main grape of Beaujolais is Gamay, which is also the variety used to produce Beaujolais Nouveau. Although Gamay is grown in other regions, such as Burgundy, Switzerland, Croatia, and Serbia, it is typically used in blends rather than as a dominant component. Wines made from Gamay are known for their light body and vibrant aroma on red fruits, the feature of Beaujolais Nouveau as well. In Beaujolais, the situation is entirely different. Here, Gamay reigns supreme. Moreover, local winemakers have taken an unconventional approach by driving yeast down to a secondary role in the winemaking process. Typically, red wine production involves crushing grapes, adding yeast, and waiting for the yeast to convert glucose into ethanol and carbon dioxide. This process requires the presence of oxygen. However, for Beaujolais Nouveau, winemakers use another method known as carbonic maceration. In this process, whole grape bunches with intact berries are placed into sealed tank, which then filled with carbon dioxide. Historically, the grapes themselves produces the carbon dioxide gradually, filling the tank over time. Today, winemakers speed up the process by introducing external carbon dioxide. Inside each grape, and as a reminder, a grape is a plant cell, glucose naturally oxidizes into water and carbon dioxide in the presence of oxygen, a normal cellular process. However, when oxygen is replaced with carbon dioxide, the situation changes. The glucose begins to convert into ethanol and carbon dioxide inside the grape, without the assistance of yeast. Essentially, the berries start to ferment on their own. Once the intracellular fermentation is complete, the grapes are crushed and pressed. Yeast is then added to finish the fermentation process, converting the remaining glucose into ethanol, as the natural intracellular process doesn't convert all the sugar and doesn't produce sufficient ethanol levels on its own. The result is very low level of tannin, since tannins are primarily extracted from crushed skins, and in this process, the juice has minimal contact with crushed skins. On the other hand, the wine is rich in pigments, as pigments are easily extracted from the intact skins during the wine fermentation process. The outcome is bright, smooth wine with a pronounced and fruity flavor and unusual notes for the red wine, such as banana, caramel, and even bubblegum. These unique flavors are hallmark of carbonic maceration and gives Beaujolais Nouveau a distinct character. In a way, it's like a vibrant, alcoholic fruit compote, fresh, fun, and easy to drink. Other winemakers occasionally incorporate elements of carbonic maceration when they want to reduce the tannin levels in the wine and enhance its bright fruit flavors. In such cases, some intact grape bunches are added to the juice, allowing carbonic maceration to occur alongside conventional yeast fermentation. This hybrid approach, for example, is a traditional technique in Rioja. Now let's return to Beaujolais Nouveau. Gamay, as a grape with naturally high acidity, yields wine that is also quite acidic. In fact, the acidity level is more reminiscent of white wines than red ones. Beaujolais Nouveau is often described as refreshing, which is essentially a nod to this high acidity. Because the wine is light-bodied and high acidic, it is best enjoyed at the same temperature as dry white wines, between 11 and 15 degrees centigrade. That said, Beaujolais Nouveau's simple flavor profile means quite forgiving when it comes to the temperature. This makes it an ideal choice for a picnic basket. You can start with a wine chilled and finish with a slightly warmer, without offending your taste buds. As mentioned earlier, Beaujolais Nouveau is the first wine of the harvest. By law, it can only be released to the market at the stroke of midnight of the third Thursday of November in the harvest year. This means the wine is only about 6 weeks old when it's become available. However, the same law dictates that it can only be sold until August 31st of the following year. In the United States, retailers don't always adhere this rule. It is not uncommon to find bottles of Beaujolais Nouveau from both the current and the previous years sitting side by side on the store shelves. While some Beaujolais Nouveau can retain its quality for a couple years, the majority begin to deteriorate significantly after just 1 year, or even earlier. As a general rule, avoid buying last year's Beaujolais Nouveau if it's already September of the current year. In fact, I would recommend limiting your enjoyment of this wine to the harvest season of the fall and the winter that follows. By spring, it is best to forget about Beaujolais Nouveau until the next November. Besides Beaujolais Nouveau, there is also Beaujolais Premier, which is made using the same method. However, this wine is only allowed to be sold until January 31st of the years that followed the harvest. Originally, Beaujolais Nouveau was a wine meant for local consumption by vineyard and winery workers. After the harvest was gathering and the first wine had settled, it was the perfect time to celebrate the end of the season with a simple, cheerful, and inexpensive young wine. However, in the 1970s, the enterprising Georges Duboeuf saw an opportunity to expand its appeal. He began exporting Beaujolais Nouveau to England, promoting it as the taste of the first wine of the season. The idea quickly gained traction, and Duboeuf later expanded his sales to Japan. What started as a small local celebration soon transformed into international wine phenomenon. Naturally, as its popularity grew, so did its price. Speaking of Georges Duboeuf, pay attention to this name. A large proportion of Beaujolais Nouveau imported to the United States is sold under his label. Today, Beaujolais Nouveau bottles are easily recognizable thanks to their bright, playful labels, which change every year and contributed to the festive nature of the wine. It is worth noting that only half of Gamay grapes grown in Beaujolais are used to produce Beaujolais Nouveau. The other half is used to make regular Beaujolais wine without the Nouveau. Unlike the younger sibling, Beaujolais wine is made using standard winemaking techniques, though some elements of carbonic maceration are still used. This wine is not meant to be consumed immediately after production and can age for several years and has a distinct different taste profile from Beaujolais Nouveau. I will talk about this Beaujolais wine another time. Just keep in mind that there are two separate styles, and it is worth checking the label on the bottle to know which one are you getting. Interestingly, the concept of Nouveau style wines had spread to other countries. Italy, the Czech Republic, and the United States now produce their own young wines using grapes like Gamay, Zinfandel, Tempranillo, and Pinot Noir. Despite this, Beaujolais Nouveau remains the leader in the market for super young wines, continuing to dominate both in reputation and popularity. I have today Beaujolais Nouveau of this year harvest from Georges Duboeuf. Let's try. This one for you, this one for me. Very fruity. Light, good high acidity, very refreshing. No tannic feeling, very fruity. Mostly black cherry, blackcurrant, blackberry. Some notes of violet and lavender. Quite easy to drink. Stay with me, subscribe to my channel. Feel free to ask questions and don't hesitate to support me. Happy New Harvest! Sante!